What glamorized career path is actually a complete nightmare? Chef. Long hours, shitty environment. Nothing is ever good enough. I have a friend who's a very successful chef. He always told me, if you love cooking, just cook for friends. This was the major thing going to culinary school taught me. I'm a good cook, it's fun and relaxing, thought I should make money doing what I love. Professional kitchen work gave me ulcers. Flight attendant. The travel would be amazing, but let's face it. You're a glorified waitress working in a cramped aluminum tube. And long hours. All the insane jet lag will fuck up your body beyond imagination. The worst part? In other customer service jobs, the problem customers eventually leave, either of their own volition or by being so over the top they get kicked out. Flight attendants are stuck with the jerks. My so is an attorney and isn't loving life right now. She says, you know how you did term papers in college? Well, I do term papers every day, all day, endlessly. I don't practice law anymore, but when I did, I mostly did criminal defense and occasional civil cases. Almost all the attorneys I knew all had great professional lives and personal lives comprised of utter shit. Alcohol abuse was rampant. Drug use was frequent. I knew attorneys who had pharmacy drawers in their office that they consulted when they needed a specific remedy. I knew a public defender who dropped dead of a massive heart attack as he was leaving for court. One attorney I knew said he loved going to new restaurants because he and his wife didn't have sex anymore, and that was his only real passion now. And I'm sure there are some attorneys who love their job. I'm sure there are many who are satisfied. But glamorous? Not in my experience. Veterinarian. Insanely competitive schooling that crippled you with debt, with a depressing debt-income ratio after graduation. Most of your patients don't like you, and most of the owners think you're getting rich upselling them unnecessary services when their dog's exploding eyeball cancer can be cured with raw organic exotic meats CBD coconut oil. But you're withholding that information because you're in bed with big kibble. High stress, stagnant wages, long hours, shit holiday leave. Rampant depression. Lost count of how many colleagues have committed suicide. Sometimes tempted to join them. For what it's worth, I strongly believe the vast majority of us appreciate the hard work and dedication vets do for our four-legged family members. When I eventually get a pet of my own, I will be sure to let the vet know they're deeply appreciated. The video game industry. A lot of kids and teens want in it so bad because I grew up playing games blah blah blah, they take me to another world blah blah blah. Then you become an adult and learn that it's all math and physics, and making a video game has nothing to do with what you experienced growing up. It's all black screens of code, polygons, and being criticized for your work. What's worse, if you make games you probably never have the time to play them anymore. The gaming industry is notorious for implementing 60 to 80-hour work weeks. Even worse, depending on what company you work for, you may never have stable work. You finish a project and then the company tells you, we don't have another project for your particular skill set. Then you gotta look for more work. And if all that wasn't bad enough, you'll probably never work on a game you want to work on. All those big, fancy games and indie darling on Steam are a very small fraction of what exists. Barbie's Horse Adventure? Those people got degrees and were inspired by the same games as you. Crappy Candy Crush knockoffs? Same degree and inspiration. Stupid tabletop games that you only see in the family section at Walmart? Those also utilize game designers, programmers. Don't get into video games because you like video games. Get into video games because you're passionate about math and science. One thing you missed: if you do get into it, you'll likely lose the passion for playing them, because they're your day job, not an escape from it anymore. My mate used to love board games. Note the phrase used to. Then he opened a game store and they lost the novelty anytime he went to play one. He'd be looking at the board and thinking, must do that tomorrow, or, oh Christ, I knew I forgot something. Killed his entire passion for it. Modeling, too competitive, and not enough food. Also, you will have to deal with a lot of fake people who took off of the ground too much. Sister's friend was a recognizable professional model for years. She was tall and skinny at 115 pounds. Her agent told her to slim down to 105 pounds. Her body fat was already minimal, and losing the weight meant losing muscle mass. At 105 pounds, she couldn't even walk a city block without exhaustion. Farming on a large scale. I was living in debt up to my ass, $500,000 to $1 mil depending on the time of year, haggling for every input, land, fertilizer, seed, equipment, at the mercy of the weather, and got to watch the commodity markets kick me in the nuts every business day. The real cherry on top was everyone thinking you are trying to kill them with GMOs and copious amounts of chemicals that we don't use. Not to mention farms are passed down through generations, so you've got a bunch of dead and living ancestors watching your every move. Oh, and a lot of farmers work a second full-time job for the health insurance. There's a reason farm suicides are high and farm accidents are higher. There's a million young rural FFA kids that would give their left leg for a chance to farm. Lots of people don't know how many farmers have a full-time job in addition to their full-time farms, so that their family can have some stability and they can subsidize, growing the food we eat. Most career paths, glamorized or not, can be a nightmare if you have a shitlord for a boss. A good boss will make a crappy job manageable. A bad boss will make the best job in the world miserable. I don't know if nightmare is the word, but my wife has finally reached her lifelong goal of becoming a zookeeper at one of the top zoos in the US. She is very happy to have the opportunity to hand food to otters, have reindeer eat out of her hand, and brush okapi. However, she took on tens of thousands of dollars in student loans and did months of unpaid work at the zoo to get the job, which is seasonal, requiring she be off 2 months a year. She gets up at 4 a.m. and does farmhand-style physical labor for 8 hours a day for about $9 an hour with no benefits. I am thrilled that she reached her goal, and I am happy that she is happy, but I am pretty disenfranchised with the whole thing. I've started working in television from a too young an age. It was amazing to witness all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but the reality is that these days you just can't make enough money from performing on TV, let alone the deprivation of creative freedom, which is what got my show canceled, I think. Listen up, kids. Any job that seems glamorized has more than likely resulted in an oversupply of people wanting to do that work, while demand has not increased, thus bringing the compensation down for that line of work. Radio announcer. Like a lot of other jobs in the entertainment industry, it's full-time work for part-time pay. Second jobs are common. Your pizza delivery guy just may be your favorite morning show host. At least, that's how the morning guy at my station made ends meet, until he was laid off in the last round of cutbacks. Now we're a hybrid station, which is the preferred business model these days. That's a fancy way of saying one person does everything while you run a ton of syndicated programs. 12-hour days of minimum wage. Political staffer. Most jobs in politics pay very little money and require you to work 80+ hours a week for a boss who is guaranteed to have a gigantic ego. You also have to look for a new job after every election day. For all of you smart kids with advanced degree from top 50 colleges, don't go into consulting. You can do better. Find a line of work that is not as soul-sucking and energy-draining. Those frequent flyer miles and free hotels, whining and dining in glamorous suits are just a smokescreen to cover up the misery from constant traveling, networking, guaranteed overtime, and no weekends are not worth it. Many people do it as a stepping stone to a real career, which is smart. Staying in consultancy for 5+ years will likely turn your life upside down. Teaching for sure. I mean, people know it sucks, but still the idea of becoming a teacher and changing the lives of children simply by caring enough exists in a lot of people, and sadly it's just not like that. The very sad truth is it doesn't matter how much you care, there are so many people who just want to make your job near impossible, and people drop out of the position left and right. As someone who's going to graduate university in a year or two, what I'm getting from this thread is that employment is awful, unemployment is awful, and I should consider a career in being dead. Architect is really bad. Most people don't complete it, and the mental health issues are quite serious. There's a lot of criticism and stress in the beginning, lots of late nights and hard work. At the end of the work you get insulted in public. There's no real reason for this. You aren't going to be saving lives or anything. There's no need to make it so expensive either. So 3 years later, you get a degree and have to do a year of intern work, then it's time for another year of study and projects and exams. Then 2 years of minimum wage work. Then you come back for more exams, essays, and projects. It's really too hard for what it is. I get paid very badly and I don't really use any of my training. It was pointless really, but girls like it at parties when I say I'm an architect. That's a lie, I don't go to parties, I have no social life. Medicine, a close friend is a doctor, he doesn't have a life. Yeah, you study and intern for all those years, and your reward is to be overworked in a crumbling public sector and fight to get your patients what they need. I'd say 90% of the doctors I've spoken to have told me never to become a doctor. What other career path is actually a nightmare? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.